Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the dreaded Haggard podcast. I know it's been like a year since we've had one of these, but today we're back with the great Anticity, and we're going to be talking about our experiences with Age of Empires 4, our opinions on some of the factions, game balance, and what we're going to be doing in the future. So, how you doing, man? You feeling good?
Hey, I am doing great. Yeah, just patiently waiting for the game to come out.
I know, man. It was tough, because we only got like 3 days. I think it was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we had Monday morning as well. And were you able to stay past the breakdown? Because I know there was like this shadowy operation of streamers and folks who figured out that if you didn't close the game client, you could play for like an extra like 10 hours or something. Did you do that?
Wish, but I was either busy or I slept in way too late that day, unfortunately. So I
Yeah.
missed out on potentially infinite content. Did they shut that down eventually?
Yeah, they did, but it went like the full day. It was pretty wild. I remember like the night before I was talking with my wife, I was like, I'm gonna just like leave the game client on all night while we sleep and see. And then when I came back on, I was able to get like another like I don't know like 12 games or something, which was pretty great because the wait's long, man. I think it's October 28th. Is we have to wait until then.
Oh, I thought it was 18th. 28th is way
Yeah.
further.
It's even deeper, man. It's even deeper. But yeah, so Anticity and I played a lot of games. We were training partners. We certainly had many battles throughout the betas of this glorious game. And of all the factions that you played, which one do you feel you really resonated with? I know, obviously, in the most recent one, you were saying the Abbasid dynasty.
Yeah, they that one I've been based. I think they were the only faction I played for the entire beta.
Hey, you didn't try
I like
anyone
my
else?
faction slightly. Actually, yeah, I didn't even touch China at all.
Yeah.
So, I think I played one as the Holy Roman Empire, but like I wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Abbasid dynasty. That's pretty nice. I really like all the different mechanics. I like the sort of base layout factions a lot in general.
Like the Sim City, because you could probably capitalize on this more because I played mostly HRE in China, a little bit of England as well. But with that Abbasid dynasty, we do have it being played in the background right now. But essentially, if your base is connected in like a Sim City grid, like you have like something connecting every aspect of your base, even if it's in like a pencil shape, you get like the golden age bonus, right? So you like get like research rate and like worker production rate, or you get a bunch of other buffs, right?
Yeah, you get like +5 defense to your buildings.
Damn.
So you have to tie it into your tower structures and stuff too. It's great.
Yeah, that definitely seems rewarding too. And it's like you have to be very with England you can kind of just like spam longbows and build however you want, but with Abbasid dynasty, I think one of the reasons why they're a bit harder to play than other factions is to really capitalize from their Holy Roman Empire is like you get building bonuses for your buildings, like your keeps and walls are cheaper, so it's just kind of slow push expand infantry. Abbasid dynasty, you really need to be quite aware of like the macro element of your base design while you're also fending off your opponents. But yeah, I feel like for you, because you have a pretty heavy duty RTS background, right? You played like StarCraft and what other RTS games did you endeavor in back in the day?
Yeah, like it started with StarCraft 1 actually, which I was just terrible at. And then Warcraft 3, which I was also terrible.
Yeah.
But then as I finally learned how to play RTSs and StarCraft 2 came out, I really grinded that game a lot, and then from there weren't really any more RTS games that got released. So
Yeah.
like there were some, but no like major ones. But yeah, I played a lot of StarCraft. I got to like the very bottom of Masters, and that was my crowning achievement.
Yeah, that's a solid achievement, man. StarCraft's like a hyper competitive game. Yeah. That was really like the golden age of the RTS, because like I remember back in, I don't know, it used to be called Justin TV, right? Like in the beginning, Twitch, isn't that what it was called?
I think so. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't even watching Twitch at the time, or just in TV.
Yeah, it went by a different name and then it became Twitch. But back then, you would go onto Twitch and you would see the most played game was StarCraft 2. It was like, all these other genres were still waiting in the shadows to plunge the knife into the back of the RTS genre. But yeah, man, that was the golden age of RTS. But that's what's great about obviously Total War has been a pretty cool RTS niche, but it doesn't have like the base building and the macro management outside of campaign, of course. But this is like, I don't know. I've played a lot of RTS games. There's been a lot of like indie RTS games that have come out that have been fun, but like they haven't really, I don't know, gotten that like same feel of like when I first played StarCraft 2 and and Brood War and Warcraft and Frozen Throne, Reign of Chaos, all that stuff. But like this game, I felt that that addiction came back, like the desire to like push the meta, just go deep and explore like build orders and like all the different unique aspects of the factions. I don't know if you had that same feeling, but for me, this was like, this was like, it felt like I was back in the days of old, back in the glory days of RTS.
Like it really, at least in my eyes, is sort of the old school macro sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where a lot of newer games were cutting out like the macro aspects more and more, so you didn't have to jump back to your base as often. It's more focused on your units, which is like fun too, but sort of having to bounce back to your workers and doing worker harass, that's a very old school RTS feel.
And you're very good at that too. Your worker harass, we were playing a couple 2v2s, and obviously haven't played 1v1s versus you. Your worker harass is quite potent, man, especially with the camels, with the Abbasid dynasty you were playing with, which was pretty cool. Yeah, I couldn't agree with your point more, man. I feel like a lot of RTS games, they saw the writing on the wall for the RTS genre, and they tried to like MOBA-ize their games, where they became more like, small armies, skirmishes, like less base management, very small bases, of course. Dawn of War 3 was a classic example of this we saw, right? Where
I never got into Dawn of War.
It was also made by Relic. It was actually, I had quite a bit of fun, but it didn't have like the longevity. But basically, you had a very minimalist base, and there was capture points, and you would have relatively small armies by comparison. And but yeah, this feels like it's more true, like you said, to the classic RTS. Now, I think the reason why developers did that, and you let me know if you agree, is that traditional RTS is very, very tough barrier of entry. Like, I think if I took one of my friends who's never played video games before and put them in a MOBA, right? They get a character, they have 4 buttons to press, and they can pick up the basics pretty darn quickly. But if you put someone who's never really gamed or might be new to a genre into like an Age of Empires game or a StarCraft 2 game, that's overwhelming, at least in my opinion, compared to the MOBA genre.
Like a lot of the games that have very high barrier to entry, they generally involve playing with friends too, so people are walking you through. Like a completely new player to League of Legends would be pretty overwhelmed still. But if you have your friends just telling you what items to buy and so on, it makes it way easier. With sort of RTSs, it's very often just a solo experience, which even though there are tons of resources you can go to, it's like it's definitely a lot more intense. And I know a lot of people that get ladder anxiety for it too, so
that's a big thing. I have a lot of friends I've gamed with, and people I play League of Legends as well, and a bunch of different MOBA games and modern multiplayer games, and like it's like if you have a friend and you can rely on them a little bit more, it takes the pressure off. But 1v1 ladder anxiety is real. It takes like you really have to steel your will to just go into like ranked StarCraft and ranked, like even I'm sure in Age of Empires it'll be similar, right? It's like it's an intense experience. But I mean, that's like what pulled a lot of players in, like you and I. Like I'm sure you probably vastly enjoy the the 1v1 to the 2v2, right? Like you really like that competitive aspect of things, and I'm the same way. So I'm glad we're getting something where that's like going to be getting some shine again.
Just like a nice competitive RTS of old.
Now, as far as like game balance, in your opinion, in the beta test, I'll just give you my quick like 10 cents about it. I felt like game balance was pretty fine. I don't think there was too many glaring issues. For me, the only thing I really ran into that I felt was a little bit oppressive was the English longbow all-in, where basically you just stay on tier 2 and mass like battering rams with longbows. I felt like that was really tough to stop. But aside from that, I felt like game balance was pretty good. Was there anything that you felt was kind of like a glaring issue that you think should be perhaps addressed based on your RTS experience, or just anything really?
Let's see. I think overall, I didn't really see too many problems. I know the factions are a lot more unique than their Age of Empires 2 counterparts. But overall, because everyone has the same access to a lot of factions, like a slight difference in skill level will catch you up for whatever minor bonuses the different factions have. So like, like let's say 20% extra resource gather on a certain resource. A player that's just slightly stronger than you could also get that same amount of benefit just by playing better. So it doesn't feel like there's too many opportunities, but like you said, the English longbowman rush is like, it does stand out I feel like it's sort of a 4-gate situation, like in
Yeah,
StarCraft.
like
Where,
one
yeah,
base, like 4 gate, 3 gate rush. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like hopefully someone finds some good strategy that works against it, and then it becomes a bit more niche,
Yes.
more just like you'll bring it out every once in a while. But
Yeah.
yeah, like overall, the approach to balance to have very similar units, it's very different from like the classic Blizzard RTSs,
Yeah.
but I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, and I think they accomplish that by having like the classic rock paper scissors formula to an extent. Like every unit has like more or less like a hard counter. There's not like any unit that just is like super oppressive, right? Like everything has its measure. Of course, the factions have a lot of unique like dynamics that can kind of throw that into whack. But yeah, I felt like game balance was pretty good for sure. Like I probably played at least like 6 or 7 games with every faction, and aside from the longbow rush thing, like I got into late games. A lot of it just came down to decision making and army composition, which of course like anyone has access to those base core units, which I think really helps for balance. And yeah, it was a really really good experience. I'm looking forward to seeing, because Age of Empires 2, did you play AOE 2 quite a bit? It sounded like you mentioned you had some knowledge of it.
So I played Age of Mythology once
Hmm.
at my cousin's house, like over a decade ago,
Yeah.
and that was like my first exposure to it. Age of Empires 2, I don't think I ever played it, but I did get interested in watching it for a while. Actually went back to like a lot of Day 9's
Oh yeah, Day Nine's the
vlogs
man.
playing it.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So that was pretty fun, and that prepped me pretty well for Age of Empires 4 too,
Yeah.
just because a lot of the mechanics are pretty similar.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely a fair amount of similarities. Some minor differences as well. My experience in Age of Empires 2 is quite limited. I played as a kid, like a lot, but I didn't really get into the competitive scene. But man, Age of Empires 2, as 4 was coming out, I was doing some research into it. It has an awesome community, man. Like, did you by chance see the Wolo Low Cup they had? It's like sponsored by Red Bull Gaming. Had like $100,000 prize. It's like pretty heavy metal, man. Have you seen those cups before?
I've heard of it. I've seen some gameplay of high-level players, but I never actually got to the point where I watched those games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I for sure I've heard that like their community is just booming from like even like a while back they were pretty small.
Yeah.
I was watching like an interview of someone talking to like a high-level AOE2 player.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like super super exciting, and it's a pretty good sign for AOE 4 too, I would hope.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to be coming with 8 factions in the beginning, which I think is quite nice. It'll give us time to, get a grasp on them. I'm sure there'll be like DLCs for other factions, but yeah, I think, having played this, like I really like the victory conditions. We come from that Total War background where, victory conditions are, quite simplistic, a little bit ambiguous at times with our having to enforce rules and make sure people actually attack each other. But it was really refreshing to have the Wonder Victory was super fun. And I know in Age of Empires 2, if I'm not mistaken, the Wonder Victory was considered a bit of a meme, but like it's actually a very viable option in 4, in my opinion. And sacred sites and obviously objective landmarks, I really like that. I thought it was the conditions of the game were cool. It rewards a lot of different playstyles. If you want to turtle and go for a Wonder Victory, you can. If you want to go sacred sites and map control, you can. If you want to do like turtle slow push, like a lot of different styles to play for it felt very viable. I'm sure you got a similar feeling as well.
Yeah, I really like the markets in general.
Yeah.
And overall, it's with all the different victory conditions, it was surprisingly not very cheesy. Like the cheesiest build was just the English rush, but like you didn't have a lot of the problems of just turtling and maxing out and so on.
Yeah.
Which is really refreshing in terms of just RTSs in general.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if somebody wants to turtle, man, they're gonna lose. The sacred sites will be taken. And something I didn't discover till later in the beta is that sacred sites, I don't know if you knew this, but when you control a sacred site, you get money from it. You get gold.
Yeah.
I didn't know that for like almost the whole beta.
Yeah, some factions have a bonus to that too, I think. Maybe not, but
maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, and like there's so many objectives you can go for. Like the relics, often ignored, but actually
really good, especially with HRE. So the Holy Roman Empire, I think you said you played them once, but they obviously get very early prelates, which allow you to like as soon as you hit the 3rd age, you could just be standing there waiting for it, right? So you can get the religious units like there, but they have a special building that doubles the gold you get from the relics when you put it in. It's like a special church. And on top of that, you can put relics inside of keeps and defensive buildings to like massively spike their power. So if you put like a relic inside of a keep that you're controlling like a sacred site with, it's very tough for your opponents to get it or like get to it, because your keep is going to be so much stronger than your opponents, which is really, really neat. And yeah, the playstyles, like all the factions feel pretty different. Probably the most vanilla faction, and I don't know if you would agree with this, for me it was probably England. You know, it just felt like your classic, you know, everything was kind of fluid. You didn't really have to like accentuate too many mechanics to like make them work. But aside from that, they still felt unique, right? With their farming culture, their longbows, you know, their defensive infrastructure obviously is better than some of the other factions. But I really like the unique feel of all the factions. And you really experienced that with the Abbasid dynasty.
Yeah, overall, I think they're all very distinct, especially for various play styles too. They all have like different sections of play styles that fit well into the faction. But I don't think any one faction has only one play style too. There's a bit of leeway there for sure.
Oh, I agree with like England, for example. Yeah, you can do the cheesy like longbow rush, which I don't know if that'll get changed before launch. And it's not the longbows themselves, in my opinion. It's more the building. It's like the council hall they have at tier 2. It basically gives you them at double speed. So your opponent, like if they are making like, you know, archers or cavalry, they're going to get like 4 longbowmen by the time you get 1 cavalry unit. So that's kind of the tricky part. But yeah, like with England, you don't have to play that way. You can go late game. You can go with you know, a farm economy, because England has unique upgrades to get the farm enclosures, which allows them to get gold from their farms. Like you can go expansionist England using their superior keeps, which do more damage to like secure ground. Like you can play all sorts of different ways, which I think is really, really cool. Exactly what you were saying.
I actually had a late game against England where they just spammed chaff at me because of their late game economy.
Like spears and stuff?
Yeah. Just they had tons of farms and they could just keep pumping out units like crazy. So
yeah,
I think that was definitely very fun.
They're a cool faction for sure. I think they'll be probably one. And you know, I would say if you are a beginner to this game and you're going to be getting in, I would highly recommend starting with them, because you may face like experienced AOE 2 players or, you know, new, you know, upstarts here in AOE 4, and I think longbows are like one of the best ways to deal with rush. It's like if somebody rushes you, you just sit them in your defensive infrastructure near your base, and like they defend rushes so well. Would you say they're probably like the best beginner faction of the ones that you maybe had some experience with?
Yeah, for sure. It even says in the tooltip. But overall, it's that extended range. You don't need to have as much knowledge.
Yeah.
To help hold off the rushes, just because of there's a bit more leeway on your early game units. So yeah, overall, I would say they're good to pick up. Actually, one of my friends that I was introducing to AOE 4, I got them to play England, and we just we longbowman rushed.
Oh yeah,
tier 2.
double longbow rush.
I went. No, it was Abbasid or Abbasid, building battering rams at tier 2, and him building longbows, so that we had sort of anti everything.
Dude, that's a really good like team combo, because I'm probably mangling how you say it. I think it's Abbasid, but they have they do not require siege engineering upgrade to build early siege equipment. Therefore, you know, other factions like England would normally have to research that, but that's a really powerful combo. So you would just get like troops to build like rams and protect his archers like spears, right? And then you guys just basically own from there.
Yeah, because like people would, you know, build tons of towers, which puts them a little bit behind.
Yeah.
And then, you know, then we just walk in with the battering rams, and they just don't have the army to take out both of our forces.
Yeah.
So just like as a nice intro to the game, that's like, it's a really good space to build off from, I think, while you get used to all the mechanics.
And I think FFAs are really cool in this game. Like, we didn't get to do too many. We had some issues and some bugs like with victory conditions in FFA, but the couple that we did get to play in and I played in, I had a blast with it, man. Like the politics and like the base building and just like walling off your portions of the map and having your own like little, you know, porcupine lair. It was really fun. I'm curious how the competitive scene will develop in terms of like the other formats like 2v2 and FFAs. I bet you there will be some sort of a competitive niche for FFA. It seems really fun.
Yeah, like I know for team games too, AOE 2, the factions had buffs that would transfer to your ally.
Ooh, really? That's
so
strong.
Yeah, there's some sort of focus for that game mode in 2. I I would assume that there's something for 4, which is pretty cool to have actual like full support for these less like ultra competitive game modes. But I think overall they're still pretty cool.
Yeah, I do agree though. Yeah, like 1v1 is going to be the jam in this game. Like it's just it's great. Like I just love the base building, man. Like being able to like build up it does feel like you're building up your own empire, you know. And yeah, it's just a blast. And the other factions, so we have a couple factions that we haven't seen yet. We have the Rus, which is essentially like a amalgamation of Slavic cultures, like, you know, the Rus princes and all that sort of good stuff. And then we have, I believe the other one was France, like French, the French, yeah. So did you see any footage of the French? I did watch a show match that was up on the Age of Empires channel that showed the Rus. They certainly looked pretty cool. And honestly, if the factions I've seen, they really look like they're up your alley with like horse archers and a lot of mobility. They get early knights at tier 2 as well, just very similar to some of the other cavalry factions. But did you get a chance to see that game?
I didn't. I got like no news on for France. So anything would be good. What other bonuses do they have? Do they have any unique units?
So France, I haven't seen their business yet. I haven't. I know there was a show match I think that was put out. I was actually going to watch it pretty soon. I did see the Rus game though. The Rus look really cool. So their unique units are the in the end game they have Streltsy, which are basically riflemen, very similar to, you know, the ones that we're seeing in Total War Warhammer 3, right? We have the Streltsy, the Kislev rifles. So they have those that replace their late game handgunners, and I think they have superior range and also some other perks. And their early units, they have a mounted prelate. So they actually get I think they're called warrior like monks or something. They have like a mounted religious character that is so good because basically he can not only ride with your army more efficiently, but he can also like ride and grab relics. Normally you have to like get your priest and waddle across the map and you're just like a potato, right? But with the Rus, you can grab the relics like by horseback and bring them back to your base, which is super cool.
That changes a whole.
Yeah, that's, and you know what? Even another application of that people, I didn't see a lot of people talking about was the fact that you know how the Wolo low mechanic works, right? You grab a relic, you get close to them, you get an AOE conversion. But you know, normally you have to walk a priest into battle, but the Rus warrior, the warrior priest, essentially the warrior monk, he can ride into battle and pop it much quicker, and he's also has more HP, so he can withstand a little bit more damage. So very cool. They also have a bounty system. So the Rus essentially have a system in which when they kill wildlife, so like deers and you know, wild boars, they actually get gold for doing that, which is so good. So in the early game, you can go get scouts or horse archers and just take out the deer on your opponent's side of the map and you get gold for it. And then you can get an upgrade that allows you to carry the deer back to your base. So you go hunt enemy deer, bring him back to your base, like deny your opponent food. It's so good. Such a cool faction.
Yeah, I'd be really excited to see how it plays out. Like that really changes up a whole ton on the for a lot of their playstyle for sure.
The horse archers too. I felt like that was like, I feel like you like every faction that had you have the classic ODM trait, the ODM clan, where, you know, the horse archers and the skirmish cav. So that's gonna be right up your alley, you know. I think you'll like them. And France, I think I didn't look at their traits yet. I haven't really had a chance to look, but I believe they have arbalists, so they have like a special crossbow type unit, and they also have like a special type of knight, I think. So very, very classical stuff, which should be quite cool. But yeah, the Rus are definitely what calls to me the most.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how well the Streltsy do as a unit that you want to not sort of stutter micro with, because they shoot faster when they're stationed.
Yeah, so the longer they stay in position, they get buffs. Yeah, that was something I failed to mention. What was I going to say? This was something that was definitely pertinent to you. So yeah, the Streltsy, if you go watch the show match they put up, it's between two pretty solid players. I don't know if they're devs or like AOE 2, like just competitive players, but it was a really good game. It was HRE versus Rus, and the Streltsy are just punishing late game. It's just like straight damage, man. So yeah, and the Rus also can't build walls. They get like wooden palisades and they get a wooden fortress, which is their replacement for an outpost, except the wooden fortress, or the wooden outpost, essentially increases the lumber harvesting speed. So if you put it like near your lumber camp, it gives them quicker lumber harvesting in conjunction with being a defensive building. It's so cool.
Oh, yeah, I for sure. I think they're going to be up my alley. Like,
yeah,
I love having a lot of map control too.
Yeah.
So
I know you
I
do.
think it
I
should
know
be
you
pretty
do.
good.
I've experienced it many times myself. You know, as far as formats go, I think it's going to be pretty fun. When it does first come out, I'm planning on having a faction war, which of course we've seen in the Total War. So that'll be like having one person represent each faction. So who'd you want to represent? If well, we'll definitely have you playing in it, you know, pending your availability, of course. But who would you want to play in that? Do you think you'd be interested in the Mongols? Do you think you'd want to play Abbasid dynasty? Which one? Which one of all the ones you've tried is your favorite so far?
It's a toss up. Well, I think Abbasid
Yeah,
definitely up there, but sort of the more mobile factions, like I said, Mongols and the Rus,
yeah,
like 100%. I
yeah.
think as long as nothing goes too terribly wrong when I try them out, I'm pretty sure those are gonna be up there on my mains.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Mhm.
absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, so
You
those
gonna
three for sure.
you gonna be hosting any events yourself? Gonna be doing some tournaments? What plans do you got for the game?
Well, for me, I've always tended more on the side of just trying to be ultra competitive.
Yeah,
So I'll probably try like maybe a not a full tutorial series, but probably a learning
yeah,
series on improving on Age of Empires and sort of my journey doing that.
yeah.
I feel like that's more fitting on what I do, and I might dip into the tournament organization stuff, but I'm sure there's going to be a million people doing that, including yourself.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's a really like flourishing, you know, esports scene where we could be hosting like in person events. And you know, obviously we had that a little bit in Total War with Everchosen, and then the Rona came and kind of put a fork in that. And some of the employees who were responsible for Everchosen are making it happen with us. Unfortunately, left Creative Assembly, but you know, I hope we can get, you know, a really healthy, solid, you know, esports scene for this game. It just has. I haven't had that itch, man. You know, in a while, that itch to just like grind a game and learn its mechanics and just put in a lot of hours. Like, man, how many hours were we putting in when we played in some of those betas? Like,
Oh,
probably like 60 to 80, right? In the first beta.
yeah. It was like back to back games.
Yeah, it was pretty deep, man.
So,
Like, my hand was like trembling and just barely working. I was like, more games. You know, I haven't had that in a while.
like afterwards, just being able to watch games too, and like they have systems in place just to spectate ongoing games.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I'm glad you brought that up because I totally blanked on that, man. So in Age of Empires 4, at least in the betas, you can go and there's a massive delay to prevent stream sniping. They fixed it this time, so there wasn't any issues. But you can basically spectate any pub game, like ranked games on ladder, and just watch them. And like you can watch them at any speed. You can watch their build orders and really learn a lot. I spent quite a bit of time, like after I finished playing myself, just going and like watching what people were doing, and it was very very insightful. I love that feature. So hopefully it makes it through to the live version of the game. You know.
Yeah, and like I feel like it helps a lot for people that want to get better at the game.
Yeah.
Just like it's just a very intuitive way to practice, just watching other people play and so on. And I don't know if a lot of the other games I've played really have a ton of features like that.
That's a
Like
pretty unique
with
feature.
Warhammer,
Yeah.
you have to like just jump into someone's lobby and hope you don't lag the game. So
Yeah.
like a
Well,
committed feature is
and the
great.
problem with Warhammer 2 and doing that is that the lobbies are often filled with like very new players, so you're not going to learn too much. It's kind of just like, you know, you can't like watch like in ladder and Warhammer isn't even where most competitive players play. You know, they'll do it occasionally, but really it's like within discords and tournaments and things like that. And obviously getting into lobbies, there's a whole nother pain in Warhammer, right? With like the fact that you have to be like location locked and you have to be on someone's friends list. It's like, it's nice to have this like, you know, functional lobbies where like things are working and people can join without any problems, you know?
Yeah. But like the fact that Warhammer has a competitive scene despite all of that,
That's why,
I,
that's what
I
makes it a
feel like
great game. Yeah.
yeah, there's no way AoE 4 doesn't have some sort of good competitive scene
Yeah.
if we can manage all of this in Warhammer.
Yeah.
So
We had to fight
I'm
tooth and
excited.
nail for Warhammer to be, to get a scene, you know, just like,
That's
just
true.
all the bugs. So we get like 3 months in a row of just like shit just not working, you know, and like we still may push through and have tournaments, you know, we make our own rules and, you know, we're grungy pit fighters, you know, we scrap our way and make these events happen. So, but, yeah, man, there's going to be some great stuff. And I really do hope we can get in-person events. I think that's going to be like, man, I miss that, you know, but I assume it's still going to be a while before we're able to do those kind of things. But yeah, like,
Yeah, I don't
did you see the Wolo Low Cup? How they had it at a castle?
like Like they set up all the computers and stuff just in a legit
I
castle.
believe so. From what I saw, they
Yeah.
like they flew people out to a legit castle. They had the event in said castle, and they also like they had a really cool thing where the pick and ban phase, because they had a pick and ban phase. Obviously in AOE too, there's like a ton of factions, right? So, and I imagine there will be a pick and ban phase for this game too. I think that would be healthy. Like if we have tournaments, like I don't know, yeah, well that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But in Age of Empires 2, they had like a whole table set up with like art of all the different factions, and like the players did their pick and ban in person by like grabbing these icons. It was really cool.
Oh man,
How how would
that's super high production.
how would you wager a pick and ban phase would be done in this game? Like, so you get into a lobby with your opponent, and let's say this isn't like faction war. It's like a legit tournament. Yeah, best of threes might take some time. If you had like a 60-person tournament, I don't think you could feasibly do a best of three in one day, because like the games are like sometimes 30 to 40 minutes apiece. You know?
Hmm. Well, they might have like different systems for qualifying. Like it depends on how the meta sort of shapes up too, right? I
Yeah,
think
how
over
balance is.
time,
Yeah,
like games are expected to get longer.
yeah,
I like what's it StarCraft does like best of threes, best of fives, right? With their
yeah.
tournaments. So I feel like you might be able to squeeze some best of threes, but you need some qualifiers like to really weed out most of the people.
To weed
Just
out
like
the chaff. Yeah,
yeah, like in Warhammer, the 100-person tournaments, if
yeah.
it's
You just cast like
like
the top 8 or something, or top 4 in like an Age of
yeah.
Empires tournament, do something like that. Yeah, because I was gonna say for like community tournaments, like if I can imagine, 50 to 100 people signing up, right? And like if that like you'd have to start really early, man, like super early in the day. That's gonna be some deep games, but you could also do invitation. At first, I think I'll be doing a lot of invitationals because I don't know how many people from our community will play this game, but yeah. Yeah, but in terms of going back to our original point though, pick and ban. So like let's say you're in a finals. I suppose like with 8 factions, like a pick and single ban would probably be fine, right? Or maybe like the person who has to pick first gets like 2 bans. Yeah, I don't know how you would make that fair.
Like a lot of games go pretty usual pick and ban systems
Yeah.
where you just ban one or two. There's like a bunch of other pick and ban systems out there too that also do well, but I feel like at the start of it, unless Age of Empires 2 does something very different,
Yeah.
I feel like the very standard pick a faction, ban one or two would probably what we'll see most often.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you know how they do it for AoE 2?
No, I haven't, because I usually just skip to the game. I'm just like, let's just get to the battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to see. Like again, a lot of it depends on game balance. Like, but in classic RTS, StarCraft and Warcraft 3, there are no bans. It'd be silly because there's only 4 factions, right? So like, you just like, oh, this guy's a Terran main. Let's just make him play Zerg, and then like they would have no chance, right? So yeah, I think at first, like probably some tournaments we could just have players, I don't know, agreeing in lobby isn't good for competitive play for sure. So there would have to be something put into place. But if you are doing like a faction war style event, which I think is kind of cool, I think that's like, and I think it is reasonably competitive as well. That's going to be pretty easy to do, right? So players just declare their faction before the tournament and play them the whole way through with a elimination format. But
Yeah, like the factions, they're not that asymmetric, so it should be pretty balanced.
yeah, picks and I think like a pick in like I think in Age of Empires 2, I think there was like 3 bans per person, but again they're working with like 20 plus factions, right? Or civilizations. So I think in this, like a pick double ban would be fine, or something to reward the first person who has to pick and expose their options. But yeah, I think like that'd be reasonable. I think faction war will be fine, and you could just do casual agreements too, right? Like both players could be like, I'm playing this, but then there's going to get like when the meta becomes more developed, people are going to be like, oh well, we know HRE sucks against mobile factions, right? Like whatever.
Doesn't work when it gets more competitive, but
Yeah.
another thing though, the map bans.
Yeah, that's
I feel like
big.
that's a lot more prevalent.
Dude, you're just nailing it with all the points, man. You're just nailing it. That's like, dude, maps determine everything. Like if you're HRE on Dry Arabia versus like the Abbasid dynasty, they're just like riding around your base, like killing your workers with camel archers, and you're just like your big thick German infantry are just sweating in the desert trying to catch them. That's gonna be like totally different than if you're on Black Forest and it's choke points and you're just cackling and praying to the Jesus and getting those relics. Like, oh man, great point. Yeah, map bans I think might be more important even,
Like the map, the terrain, and where things are placed plays such a huge part
Yeah.
in Age of Empires. It's like just even if you only had one faction, the different maps would change up the gameplay insanely.
Yeah. That's a great point, dude. Yeah, like in the island maps too, it's like a different game. When you go into island maps, it's basically like you're playing a different game, you know? Which is cool. Like I actually like the naval combat in this game. I think it's very fun. It's epic with like naval invasions and island control and like just fat cannon battles, and like it's really really fun, man.
Yeah, like there's a lot of dynamics to it. I actually saw the fisher boats can repair
Dude, I did not know
for
that.
your other vessels.
Yeah.
And like that changes up a whole lot when it comes to defending and attacking and so on, more than just the or as much as the passive healing that you get from being near ports.
Yeah.
So like it's its own system. It's fully fleshed out, which is really nice.
Yeah, and like every civilization has their own unique naval upgrades too. It's really neat. I think like England gets like sight range so they can shoot farther. China gets like extra archers in their boats. Like it's really like you can accentuate and play to all the different strengths and things like that. But yeah, map bans are big, dude. The maps are huge in this game. Like in Total War, unfortunately, to have like balanced gameplay, we're often resorted to just doing like flatter maps with like very light terrain covering. But on this, it's like it's actually really cool if there's like choke points and forests that you got to work through, or like islands. It's a very different experience than Total War, where like every map is like kind of like an Oak and Hammer spinoff, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
more or
you
less.
generally want it to be pretty flat.
Yeah.
But actually, for one thing, I know in Warhammer we have like very minor buffs from terrain height differences.
Yeah, like downhill charges, things like that.
Yeah, I think I heard somewhere that in the most recent beta they didn't have any bonuses from terrain for Age of Empires, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know about that. I was going to ask if you had any knowledge of that, because yeah, I don't remember there being anything quite like that. Which I'm fine with, more or less, because positional play is still very big. Like chokes, concave fire. Like you played StarCraft, you know how important it is to have like a good concave with your like Marines, Marauders, like all that kind of stuff. What did you play in StarCraft, by the way? Were you a Zerg player, Terran?
Protoss.
Me too, dude. Me too. Yeah, Protoss is.
Yeah, I think
great.
Zerg definitely always fascinated me, but I can never get a hold of their map.
I was gonna suspect you were a Zerg player, just because like you have really good micro and like map awareness, and Zerg are all about controlling that map. Like Protoss are more like dwarfy, right? Like you expand, you defend, you expand, you defend, you push out, you kill the creep tumors. Like whereas Zerg, it's all about having a mobile ass like mutalisks, like Zerglings flying around, map control. It's
I think
it's a whole different
if I were
beast.
to pick up StarCraft 2, like fresh, I
Yeah.
would be playing Zerg for sure. Back in the day, though, that was the first RTS I was really getting into. So
Yeah. Zerg are hard to play too. I think they're the hardest to play faction. I don't know if you agree with me. A little bit of a tangent here, but I feel like Zerg are very difficult compared to Terran. And well, Terran and Zerg are hard. I think Protoss is the easiest. Like, I started playing Protoss because I had hand problems. They started to come on, so I was like, all right, I need something I can just get a big Death Star and just march around, But what are your opinions on that?
yeah, like the Zerg macro mechanics,
Yeah.
definitely. I would say that's the hardest. You have to revisit your base the most often.
Yeah.
For Terran, they have a lot of like the structure to their base that you need to get right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets messy real fast.
Yeah.
But like they really do embody the glass cannon type of play style, and honestly, I don't think I could really like control my army fast enough playing Terran.
Yeah.
Just because of all the different units.
It's hard, yeah. Like it's like getting your tanks deployed at the right time, and like stim pack, like scoot and shoot is pretty stressful. There's like Terran is definitely like, yeah. It's if you make one big blunder, you really end up paying the troll tool. I watch a streamer named Artosis. He's obviously a huge StarCraft caster, and Day9's brother, Tasteless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he casts with Artosis in the Korean, StarCraft leagues and all that over in Korea. And I watch his stream, and like, when he's playing his Terran, if he makes like one mistake, he just gets punished so bad on Terran. But this is Brood War mostly, or like, old school StarCraft comparatively. But yeah, whereas like Protoss, it's like, you're much more forgiving. Tankier units, really, really can punish mistakes from your opponents. But yeah, back to Age of Empires, man. Very, very hyped for it. I think there's going to be a pretty healthy scene overall. I felt like faction balance was pretty good. There was nothing that I felt like was insurmountable that I couldn't beat. And yeah, man, just a matter of time. What do we got now? Oh, it's exactly a month from today, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly a month.
Just a few more weeks. It's still quite a ways away, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
it is, man.
It'll be fun.
It will. It will. So, in closing here, we've had a nice little chat about Age of Empires. Do you have any things you'd like to shout out? Your channel? You want to tell people the name of your channels? Because you do YouTube and Twitch, or are you just on YouTube now? Because I know you did do some Twitch streams, but I think you predominantly do YouTube now. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done the full switch over to YouTube a while back. So
hell yeah,
I
man!
am
Join the crew.
Yeah, it's just Inticity. So if you look that up on YouTube, you'll be able to find me. I do a lot of just multiplayer analysis and a lot of competitive stuff. Whether it's speedruns, which is more rare, or more definitely like the usual tournament stuff. And also I want to promote the ladder that I coded for Warhammer. If anyone is interested in that, I know this is Age of Empires.
Oh, dude, it's fine. No worries,
primarily, but if I love my RTSs, so I want to make sure that there's a ladder that is similar to stuff like StarCraft and Age of Empires and the thing they made for Warcraft 3. So
yeah,
something to check out if you are not aware of it.
Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, if you want to get like good competitive practice and like a good structured system with like an elo rating and he has like a whole ranking system. So it's run through his Discord, but it's also accessible through my Discord, a bunch of other things like that. Because in Total War Warhammer, we don't really have a ladder. We kind of do, but it's like it's really janky. It like randomly resets and just like there's a lot of issues with it. But Inticity made his own ladder. It's really good. I play on it. That's one of the places I actually get my replays. Is like I just go on there and it gives you the maps you need to play. It gives you the best of threes. It tells you who your opponent is. It connects the two of you. It's so good. Highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, recent feature that I added too, also sort of related to AOE 4. There's map bans now. So
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, you can do that.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, all the features, any feature that's in any other competitive game, hopefully will eventually be added.
Well, and it is pertinent to Age of Empires 4 too, because depending on how the ladder system is and how Age of Empires does within our respective communities, right? We could run a separate version of that ladder for Age of Empires, and that could be the way we select people for tournaments based on like their performances and all that sort of good stuff. So that's definitely very, very exciting, man. We'll have to look into that as we get closer to launch, but yeah, so Anticity's name is on the screen right now. You can see it with his glorious avatar as well. That is the spelling of his YouTube channel, and I think it's the same as your Twitter as well. If you're gonna start using that, but yeah, make sure to check him out, man. It's gonna be a fun time, dude.
Yeah, very excited to get some Age of Empires 4 content for sure.
Absolutely, me too, man. Well, thank you for joining. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, plus the game running in the background. That game will be going up on my YouTube channel in the next few days. It was like an hour and 20-minute long game, just a massive battle. So that'll be coming soon. But thanks again for joining, man. And again, check out Inticity on the YouTube. There will be a link in the comment section as well as the description below. Make sure to give him some love. Again, especially if you guys are looking for really competitive stuff, he's going to be hammering Age of Empires and, of course, Total War Warhammer 3 and all the good stuff that's coming in the future. So thanks again for joining, man. We'll see you next time, yeah?
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.